Hey, how are you all this evening? I just had to jump on really quickly. I'm feeling just slightly under the weather, so I won't stay on long, but I did want to just express my gratitude to everybody who was involved with the Epic Women's Conference. It was an amazing experience. I can't even quite put it into words, and the number of people that have inboxed me, text me, called me, um, reached out to me to say what an impactful event it was for them is just incredible. And there's just so many people to thank, and there isn't any really great way to thank them because I'm so indebted to so many people. You can't pull off a 200 plus person conference by yourself. Certainly, as the visionary, I knew what God showed me. I knew what needed to happen, but you actually need physical hands. You need people to really join with you. Hey, babe, to join with you, to stand with you, and to see the vision through. And that happened on Saturday, September 29th at the Epic Women's Conference. We had an incredible time. It was just such a wonderful experience to see all of those women in the same place, all giving birth at the same time. So I want to start by thanking all of the workshop speakers. Oh my God, Chris Butler, Christine Schmidt, Ashley Cross, Amanda Williams, Julie May, Chikima. I was saying her name so wrong for so long, so my apologies, sis. But Chikima Jones, Danette Campbell-Bell, Barbie Santos, Tanya Griffin, Valerie Randleman, Leslie Myers, and Tamara Marcella. We did evaluations after every single workshop, and we did an overall conference evaluation, and we had incredible feedback from just about everybody. And I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with joy, just thrilled about how God used us all to come together to have such an amazing time. So the Epic Women Conference, there were women who came from everywhere, 200 women who came, more than 200 women actually came from everywhere. And I have to give a shout out to a man who has been like a father in the faith to me, Mike Peace, who came and loaded up his truck and brought the stage to the hotel and loaned us his sound system and all of these different things, and was praying with us and making sure that all of these women had every single thing that they needed to be successful on that day. LaShonda McCadney, girl, the anointing on your life is incomparable. It's like none other, and your voice, the way you ministered to us on that morning, was just such a blessing to us. So I love you, sister. I thank you for that. Rebecca Hoosevelt, her voice is like an angel. And she was accompanied by Lauren Haskin. LaShonda was accompanied by her husband, Terrence McCadney, and they blessed us for the morning session and for the closing session as well. Our fantastic volunteers, Alicia May and Mariah Clay. And, I just have to give a whole lot of incredible thanks to my conference crew. The conference crew, we met when we first started planning this conference just 6 months ago. So this was a vision that God gave me some time ago, and we needed to be at a place where it was right for us to do the workshop, and so or to do the conference itself. And I prayed about the women that he would have me to bring around the table to help birth this vision, because sometimes, as we shared at the conference, when you're in the labor and delivery room, you're not there alone. Generally, minimally, there's doctors and nurses that are there helping you to give birth to that child. Nobody should be giving birth alone. And it's the same with us when we're birthing a vision that God has given us. And so together, Martha, my very best friend in the whole wide world, Martha White, served on the team. Julie May, who has been my sister for more than 20 years. Julie and I push each other, and this was something she did not want to do, but she stood with me as not only a member of the conference crew, but also birthed a workshop called Your Healing Journey. Julie lost her daughter very tragically this past November. It hasn't even been a year yet, and she allowed all of that vulnerability, all of that pain to birth something in someone else who was hurting and going through. And so I really commend her for doing that, because if she would have said no, nobody would have blamed her. And she decided to do that anyway. And my girl Shamika Collins, thank you. Joyelle Proctor, just a joy. Joyelle is joy, just a ray of sunshine. Joyelle also purchased a Girlfriends Group, which was a group of 10 tickets for the conference, and she had a special reserved seating for all of her girlfriends in her Girlfriends Group. She made them goodie bags with the logo on the goodie bag. I mean, it was just incredible. It was like, wow, we need to figure out how to do that for every woman at the next conference. It was just really incredible. And Stacy Williams, she was incredible, helped us out with registration. Brianna was such a blessing to us, donated t-shirts and all kinds of things. Tanya Griffin was really instrumental for us when we first came together as a conference crew, helping us to think through mission and vision, our keywords for the conference, and really helped to set us on the right path. And of course, my sister Chris Butler. Love this girl. We have a special connection, a special bond, and I'm so grateful to her that she said yes to be a part of the conference crew, and also delivered a powerful workshop on keeping my sanity, and share her personal testimony and her personal story about it. I'm so glad you had a great time, Toya. I had a great time. I hope everybody had a great time. Hey, Yolanda, how you doing? And so I'm so grateful to Chris for being on that conference crew. And also these two women, Leticia Tyler and Wanda Cooper. Wanda and Leticia were like my right-hand women. So you, like I said, you can't put on a conference with 200 people all showing up at the same time, and everybody going to 12 different workshops, and people have to be at the same place, and there's all kinds of things to design, there's people to put in place, there's emails, there's trainings, there's all kinds of things that need to happen. And even when the conference crew wasn't meeting, these women were in contact with me, and we had meetings after the meetings before the meetings in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, and they kept me in line. Wanda was just such an encourager, and really just, pushed me. She kept saying, we're going to do it. Her faith is incredible. There were so many times where she personally would give out of her pocket to make sure that things got done, because we wanted to give you a conference of excellence. I don't want to be a part of anything that's not done in the spirit of excellence. And so she was that person. And Leticia was exactly what I needed in order to do this conference, because she challenged me. If you are on a team with a bunch of yes men, that's not a team, that's a fan club. And so you need people in your life that will say, no, perhaps you should look at it from this perspective, or, I don't really think that's a good idea. Maybe we should go in this direction. And there were times, quite frankly, where I was like, this is what I think needs to happen. And Leticia had really great feedback and reasonings for us to move in a different direction. And so those women really served as my executive team. Hey, Rebecca, just was giving all kinds of thanks to you for your angelic voice, and all of what you did in our closing session, and just the words that you spoke was just very, very, very powerful. Also have to give a shout out to Greg Bellamy. Oh my God, Greg was our AV director for the conference, and so he was responsible for all of the videotaping, all of the sound, all of everything AV, audio visual related. He was responsible for making sure all the speakers were set up with their projectors and their screens, and all of the lighting that was around the room. And I'll be posting pictures really soon. Greg did that. He was committed from the beginning, and he has so many ideas for Epic 2020 that I'm so very excited about. And so I'm glad to have him as a member of our conference crew and as our AV director. Because strong men support epic women. Yes. I was so committed to that phrase that I put it on a t-shirt. And all of the men at the conference who were there to help out were wearing that. Speaking of strong men who supported epic women on Saturday, my brother Cameron, RZ, Toby Butler, Rod Cox Cooper, Wanda's husband, they were all just incredible. My favorite men who were there, of course, were my son, Brandon, who came in from New York City to help with the conference. And of course, my lovely husband, who is just always there. I'm going to tell you something, ladies. And I said this at the conference during my closing session, that who you marry will determine the outcome of your destiny. I'm going to say that again. When you connect yourself in partnership and in holy matrimony with someone, that will impact, for good or not, your destiny. And so choose wisely. Do not become weary and waiting for God to send you the right person. Make sure that you wait on him and that he connects you to the right person. My husband pushes me. He supports me in every single thing that I do, every crazy idea I have. He says, yes, God will make a way. We're going to be able to do that. And so I'm so grateful to him. And he served as my armor bearer for that day. As we were walking out of the green room, I had my laptop and I had some t-shirts that I wanted to give away. And he was like, give me your laptop. I was like, oh, I got it. He was like, give me your laptop. I'm like, okay. All right, baby, I'm gonna give you my laptop. And he carried that laptop in and walked me in and made sure I had everything that I needed. And so I'm so grateful to God that he connected the two of us, because our destinies are tied together, and I push him and he pushes me, and together we're going somewhere great. So y'all stay tuned, because the Smiths are we're going all the way up. And so of course I have to give a shout out to my beautiful daughter, who I talked so badly about her coming out wrinkled when she was born, but she's a gorgeous young lady with a beautiful spirit and just a servant's heart. She gets all of her great qualities from her dad. And she introduced me, which was just so beautiful. And so it's just, you know, it was spiritual, because here it is, I'm speaking to all of these women and my daughter, who, if I don't pour into anybody else, do you hear me? If I don't pour into anybody else, I want to pour into her, and I want to make sure that she becomes an epic woman. And so I'm glad that she had the opportunity to be there at the Epic Women's Conference and play a huge role. And she and my son, they also worked my product table, and, you know, just was committed to the very end of the conference. And, you know, there's so many more people I'm sure that I need to thank. And if I did not personally say your name, please don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my head. I have to give a shout out to my sister, Olivia West, who also is one who pushes me and inspires me. And, you know, we are in this business thing together. And so we give each other ideas, and I'm so grateful to God for having her in my life. And I know she was praying with me and wish she could have been here. And so it was so exciting to be able to call her. She was the first person I called after the conference to say, Liv, this actually just happened. Like, I literally just put on a conference for more than 200 women. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. And and unfortunately, we didn't get to talk right away because I was also being honored at the Breakthrough Gala, Breakthrough Magazine Gala that evening. So I told somebody, and this is going to sound arrogant, but I say this as humbly as I possibly can. I told somebody I felt like this must be what Beyonce feel like. You know, I feel like I just did a show and now I'm off to the Grammys or something. So I know, y'all, I'm not Beyonce. Okay. But certainly it was a very full day, and we had a lot going on, and it was all good stuff. And I'm so glad that God is just allowing me to be a part of it and do that thing in my life. And I also have to give a shout out to Amanda Hayes. Amanda was our event photographer, and she was incredible. I mean, the event was just Saturday, and last night around midnight, I got all of the photos from the conference, which was just incredible. And so I'll be posting those soon, and I'll be sending out updates, because what we're going to do is have a few epic refreshers. And so I'll invite all of the ladies who attended the conference, and you can forward it to anybody else, and we're going to talk through some of those things, because I want to make sure that you didn't just come to a conference and you got happy and you got excited and you shed some tears and you had some laughs and then you go back to life as usual. That's not what we're doing. Okay, so that conference, it should have changed your life forever. And I want to hear from so many of you. I want to hear your testimonies, and I want to give away conference registrations. I'm looking at myself backwards, so I'm pulling my hair this way and I'm trying to make it go that way. Okay. But I want to give away conference registrations for 2020. Which I already told y'all never gonna get a $35 conference again. Like that was like a teaser, and here it is. This is what we're doing, and we want to do it bigger. We want to do it better. We want to offer breakfast. We want to offer lunch, and all those things cost money, people. Okay, so I can't. My husband, he loves me and he supports me and everything, but I can't be writing checks, for everybody to have breakfast and lunch, and ain't nobody to pay for that. So that means that the conference, to give you more, we have to charge more because it costs something. And we should care enough about ourselves, women, that we want to sow a seed into our lives. The incredible testimonies that I've heard from this conference, I've talked to people who started crying all over again as they were just reliving what they experienced at the conference. To me, that means that there was something deep rooted in you that you didn't even know was there, that needed to be uprooted, or there was seeds that needed to be planted deep down in good soil. And we had the opportunity to do that. On Saturday. I told you I'm not feeling well, so I'm clearing my throat a little bit, and I'm trying to keep up, but I did want to make sure, that I said thank you to everybody. And I want to say thank you to every woman who took a chance on us. Y'all didn't have to spend your $35 or your $25 if you got the early bird. You didn't have to do it, but you did. And I'm so grateful, because it was the energy of every single woman coming through the door that made the event what it was. And to see so many people networking, there's some things that we want to change for Epic 2020. We are doing this every other year. It's not an annual event. It's an every other year event, because we want it to be great. And we want to bring in great speakers. So I'm gonna tell you guys, when we do send out, I'll be sending out information to all of the attendees, just to say thank you again. And if you didn't have a chance to fill out a conference evaluation, we want your feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. If you hated the conference, please tell me that. But don't just tell me you hated it, okay? Tell me why you hated it, so we can be better. Like, we want to be about continuous improvement. So tell us what was a challenge for you. And we've heard things like having breakfast or having lunch so women can network during that time. And we've heard about the networking piece, that women wanted more time. They wanted more time to go to the vendors and all of these kinds of pieces. And so we want to work that in. Maybe we'll do a networking hour, an evening session at the end of the conference. We probably will not do a multi-day session. We've heard a lot of people say that the conference needed to be longer, that the sessions needed to be longer, that many of the workshop presenters were just able to scratch the surface. Shira, you had a good time, and I'm going to see you in Jamaica, girl. I'm so excited about Jamaica. We still have spots for Jamaica for anybody who wants to come to the Epic Women's Retreat. And I will tell you that the Epic Women's Conference is a conference that offers a lot. We had workshops around work lifestyle, around professional development, and spirituality. But the Epic Women's Retreat in Jamaica for this year, every other year, the retreats will be in a different country. So we're international, y'all. And when we do the retreats, they're limited to 30 women. They're small retreats because we will be doing deep dives, deep spiritual dives. So we will go so deep that if you thought you had a moving experience at the Epic Women's Conference, you really want to be in Jamaica with us at the Epic Women's Retreat, because we will have the opportunity to take a real deep dive spiritually and pull things out of you that you didn't even know you had in you. And we're going to really see God. We're going to watch God do some amazing things in Jamaica, and we're going to have fun doing it and look good doing it. And then we'll have an opportunity to have some clinics with me one-on-one. So women will be able to sign up should they choose to. That's an optional part of the package if you choose to have one-on-one sessions with me and a mentoring session. So that as you are continuing to give birth and you're continuing to do something spiritually, we can help you, give you specific strategies to your circumstances. So Jamaica will be very, very different. The retreats are very, very different than the conferences. The conferences are big, and the conferences really touch a lot of different areas. And I also heard some people, because I did have a chance, not all of them, but I did take some time to look through a number of evaluations. And I'm just impressed with the number of people who said excellent, excellent, excellent. And that does my heart good. It does my heart good that people felt like it was an event of excellence, because that's what I strive for. And I don't want y'all coming to nothing I don't want to go to. And that's point blank and the period, because I have a very high standard. I've traveled all over the country, going to different conferences of just about every caliber. And so I know what makes a good conference, and I know what makes it not just a conference, but something where you really walk away impacted. Your life is never the same after that. And that's what I wanted to deliver. That's what my team was committed to giving you guys. And I'm just so grateful that you trusted us and you joined us for the Epic Women's Conference this past Saturday. It was amazing, amazing. 200 women, all in one room, giving birth all at the same time. You just cannot, you can't beat that with a stick. And so I just thank all the workshop presenters. I thank my conference crew. I thank my AV director. I thank all of our photographer, all of the men who came to help. I thank my friends who prayed with me and for me and helped me give birth to this thing. I broke down, y'all, when I saw all those beautiful women, because it's an emotional thing to realize that God will use you to do the thing that he's called you to do. And I promise you, when I was in the 9th grade and I had a teacher call me a whore because I'd had a child out of wedlock at the age of 14, and this woman called me a whore. And those word curses, which is what we talked about, those things that people spoke in your life. So what she didn't even know about me is that, I wasn't even out there like that. You don't even know what a person is going through. And shame on you, adults, that would speak something negative into the life of a child who is troubled, who is in search of something, who is trying to find a place, trying to find their place in this world and trying to understand their purpose. I now know that I was marked, and that's why the devil tried to take me out a long time ago. But I will say to him and all his little cronies that we ain't going out like that. And he's got a good fight on his hands, because I now know who I am. I now know what I've been called to do, and I'm equipped. I'm equipped and I'm on fire for that thing, and there is nothing that the enemy can do about that. So we gonna keep on shining together, ladies. We're gonna keep this thing going. Epic Women is a thing now. Epic Women is a thing, okay? It's a para-ministry, and I will continue to jump on lives and give you guys whatever God is downloading into me, because I believe that that's what he's purposed me to do. I believe, hey, Mike, I just shouted you out, and I'm so grateful to Mike Peace. I said a little bit earlier that he's been a father in the faith to me, and I don't think I've ever shared that with him. But he has, he's going to make me cry. I'm not going to cry, Mike Peace. You're not going to be jumping on here and making a sister cry, okay? But I have watched this man. Oh, my God. I have watched this man in ministry give everything of himself. He is an incredible, incredible person. And he gave so much to me during the Epic Women's Conference, more than I can ever really articulate and could ever communicate. So these are tears of joy. And I will tell you, ladies, that it's okay to be vulnerable. You know, I used to walk through life feeling like I could not be vulnerable, that I had this rough exterior, because life was really hard at one point. And there were times when I did not like myself. And there were times when I wanted to change my personality. And there were times when I would cry out to the Lord, why am I like this, Lord? Why do I think this way? Why do when I go into a room, I want to fix it, whatever it is. And I just came to understand that I was wired this way, and that is who God created me to be. He created me to be a builder. He created me to be a fixer. He created me to be a change agent. He created me to be a person who makes peace, not keeps the peace, because there's a difference. Sometimes y'all keeping peace with situations that need to be disrupted. Those situations need to be disrupted because they are not fruitful to your life. You see no fruit. The Bible tells us that we will be known by our fruit. And if you see no fruit, that's a dead vine. That is a dead vine, and you need to disrupt that situation and really pursue change in your life. Because when you say yes, every single thing else would illuminate. Everything else will become more clear. And I promise you, I wake up every single day now, and everything is much more clear to me because I'm on assignment. And I trust God that he will give me every single thing that I need to complete this assignment. Everything that I thought that I wasn't, which I'm not, but God is. And that's all that matters. His reputation is on the line. And I've said this time and time again from the moment we started this conference, from the moment I said yes, I said that the Lord's reputation was on the line. And so if this conference turned out to be something other than wonderful, then we have to go to God and talk to him about that. And he decided to make it something great. And so I just thank you. And I'm going to be doing some small groups, some small sessions with ladies so that we can go deeper. And if you are interested in a small session, hit me in my inbox. And, you can't hit me on my two-way because we won't have those no more. I think I'm funny, y'all. But yes, I am equipped. I am made for this. I am made for purpose. I am made for more. And as I am saying that, I want you to declare that for yourself. You are made for more. Say it with me. I am made for more. I am made for purpose. I am a creator. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. There is nothing, there is no power, no principality, nothing that can come against what God has set out for me to do. I want you to say that until you feel it, until you feel it, until you believe it. Every single day, we have to affirm ourselves, because sometimes the world is going to be harsh. The world is going to beat us up. The world is going to tell us that we are nothing. We will tell ourselves that we are nothing. And I promise you that every single time you speak that word into the atmosphere, you are going against your future. Every word that you speak will help to either create your future, will help to create your future. No, either. It will help to create your future, but it's either for good or for bad. And so really the choice is yours. I am honored to know you, Mike Peace, and your beautiful wife. Yes, we are made for more. And I believe that there are women. Annie Dukes gave me this prophetic word several months ago, and she said that there were women who had my name written on them. And that was a time when I was feeling like, no, that doesn't make sense. Little old me, I'm just LaShonda. I'm just trying to make it every day like everybody else. You know, I get up and I put my feet on. My feet are already on my legs. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. But I have come to an understanding that God has gifted me to be able to pour into the lives of women. And I got on this live just as tired and just as sick as I wanted to be, and I feel energized. And that is an idea. That gives you an idea about what you are called for, what you are purposed for, because I could be dog tired, ain't slept but 2 hours the night before. But when it's time for me to pour into the life of another woman, when it's time for me to breathe life, to speak life, to go into the labor and delivery room with you, to hold your hand, to squeeze your hand, and to say, push my sister, all of a sudden I stop and the Holy Spirit take over, and then we're gone. We're going together. And so there are some women out there whose hand I need to hold as you are pushing. And so I want you to reach out to me so that we can do that thing together. And you'll be notified about all the different things that we're doing with the Epic Women Ministries, which I didn't know was a thing until until the Lord spoke recently. And at my church, Glory House International, I have got to give a shout out to my pastor, Pastor Melvin Cross, who is a phenomenal pastor, a phenomenal man of God. My pastor, Ashley Cross, phenomenal woman of God. I promise you, there is something about being in the place that God has called you to be. I was supposed to be on this live a few minutes, y'all. Okay, but I got to say this. There is something about being planted in the right soil. 9 months ago, there was all of these things that are happening in my life were not happening before. Now, I was in a previous church home that took me far. I learned so much. I grew under the leadership of Bishop Gregory Paris and Pastor Myra Paris. And they stretched me in ways that I didn't know I could be stretched. They taught us, my husband and I, what it meant to be in a solid, healthy marriage. My pastor taught me how to pray. He taught me how to fast. He taught me how to tithe. He taught me so many things. Where my grandmother left off, Bishop Paris picked up. And where Bishop Paris left off, Pastor Melvin picked up. And so sometimes we get into this frame of mind of loyalty, and we stay a place too long. And I tell you that it's better to leave too soon than to stay too long. Okay? It is better to leave too soon than to stay too long. Because when God gives you direction, when he tells you that you need to be somewhere, you need to be that place. You do not know what gifting is waiting for you there. You don't know what purpose is waiting for you there. You don't know what job he has for you to do there, but you have to trust him. And as God was drawing my husband and I into this new season that we're in now, I knew that there was there was a place that he had for us, but we didn't know where that place was. And so we just began exploring, and taking different classes and worshiping with different ministries, because we heard God calling us out. And to be called out is not a bad thing. To be called out is not an indictment from the place that you left. To be called out is to be called out. It's just that. And it's to do what God has called you to do, because the word tells us that obedience is better than sacrifice. And so here it is, we're sacrificing and we're toiling in soil that we have not been called to, a vineyard that we have not been called to harvest. And so it's important for us to make sure that we go where God tells us to go, because he has a thing for us to do there. And so as he called us and was calling us, and we weren't exactly sure where that was. My husband was really visiting Glory House probably for 2 years before we actually decided to join Glory House. And I'm going to be real transparent here, because I feel like that's kind of my trademark, all right? I didn't feel like Glory House was for me because it was a young ministry, and I felt like I'd done that. I'd been with a ministry. I was with the last ministry for 22 years, and we were a part of it, coming up and growing, and I thought that wasn't what I needed at this stage in my life. And so I was visiting a larger, more established ministry. And I'm all about excellence, the spirit of excellence. And so when I saw things that were well organized, and there were, just that's what intrigued me about that particular ministry. And so I started going there. And my husband and I are always praying to be in right alignment, because that's very important. It's important that we are on one accord all the time. And when we're not on one accord, we stop and we pray, because we will not allow division or divide to come into our lives, because the enemy will take a very small crack in the door and he will bust it wide open. So you have to be on guard, and we're on guard when it comes to our marriage. And so when it looked like there was a divide in where God was sending us, hey, Randy Johnson, how you doing? We go way back. And when it seemed like there was a divide in where God was when he was shifting us to a new place, and my heart was in one place and his heart was in another. We went to this ministry that was near and dear to my heart together. And let me tell y'all, this brother, he swear this did not happen, but this brother fell asleep. It surfaced. And anybody who knows my husband knows that he is a godly man. He loves the Lord. He is in church all the time. I'd be like, bruh, that's a lot of church, okay? But he loves the Lord. He loves to be in the house of the Lord. So for him to fall asleep during ministry, I thought this felt like an indication to me. Can somebody bring me a cord for my computer? I'm sorry, y'all, but I keep dying on y'all because live, for whatever reason, just drain the juice in all my Apple products. It doesn't matter what I'm using, but bring me my laptop cord out the laptop bag. And so he fell asleep, and we had driven there in separate cars. And so I was on the drive home, and I prayed to God, and I said, Lord, division is not an option for my household. We've been in this thing for 20 years, and we always try to come back center no matter what. And so it's going to need one of those 3-prong things. Thanks, babe. And so I said, Lord, change my heart or change his. And it doesn't matter but I just want to be where you want us to be. I want to go where you want us to go. And I don't know how long after that, but one Sunday morning I woke up and I just had this overwhelming urge to be at Glory House. And I woke up and I said to my husband, I think I want to go to Glory House. He said, you do? Because he knew that although I love Glory House and I had gone there for ministry on several different occasions, I just wasn't sure if that's where God was leading me to or leading us to. And so I went to Glory House that day. And I promise you, I realized at that moment that I had only been to Glory House for special occasions. So when they would have their discerning hour, or they would have whatever it is that they would have, I would go with my husband because he was going there so much. I needed these women to know that he had a wife. Okay. Y'all be playing, but y'all be sending y'all husbands a whole bunch of different places without y'all. No, thank you, ma'am. I'm not going to be saying scat cat and some other woman down the street talking about here, kitty, kitty. Okay. So I needed to show up at Glory House to let the sisters know that the brother was taken. Okay. And so I visited several different times for that reason. Not just for that reason, but that was a lot of the reason why when my husband asked me to go, I say yes, I go with him because that was important to him. And that's some things that we should consider in marriage. When our spouse has something that's really important, we make sacrifices and we do what they want to do. He loves to bowl. I would rather pull my eyelashes out one by one. But I promise you, if the brother asked me to go bowling with him, I'm going to put on some lipstick and I'm going to put on them ugly bowling shoes. They ugly, y'all. And I'm going to be up there at the bowling alley because my man desires for me to spend time with him. Now, he also loves me enough to not make me go bowling with him all the time. So maybe it's a tournament because he's in a league. So, maybe it's the tournament, it's end of the year, and he'll ask me to go. And of course I oblige because that's important. That's how a healthy marriage stays revived. We do things that we don't want to do because it's about commitment and sacrifice. But I digress. So anyway, I had never gone to Glory House for a Sunday service, and I'd never had the chance to hear Pastor Melvin preach. And when I heard him preach, he reminded me so much of Bishop Gregory L. Paris that I just sat in my seat in awe. And my pastor at that time, Bishop Gregory Paris, had been deceased for a couple of years. And so to hear Pastor Mel bring the word as sharply as he does, to have such an energy and there's clearly an anointing on his life to be able to speak in the lives of others and to prophesy into your life and to propel you. And it wasn't just that drew me to Glory House, but that first day that I was there on a Sunday service, I heard the 3 guarantees. And one of them was, and I get goosebumps every time I tell this story and every time I talk about it, but one of the 3 guarantees is that there will never be a ceiling to your growth. Because we as the leadership, this is my pastor speaking to folks who are joining the church, because we as the leadership are committed to growing. And he would say that I as the pastor admit that I don't know everything. And so I am constantly seeking God. I'm constantly growing so that you will grow. Because we know that in business, in life, in marriage, in church, we can hit a ceiling. We can't go any further than the head of that industry organization can go. So there is a glass ceiling with leadership, with regard to leadership. And the fact that he has very consciously stated that I am going to continue to strive and grow. I won't be one of these leaders that get to this place where I believe that I know everything. I can't ever be corrected. I can't ever be guided. I can't ever grow. I'm not going to read nobody else's books or go and get deliverance myself because I've reached the pinnacle. That's not my pastor. He is very real. He is very down to earth. And so when I heard that, I was drawn to that. And I went to him because, of course, I knew him before actually becoming a member. And so when I went up to greet him after being in service, I was like, Melvin, oh my God, you sound so much like Bishop. And he had shared some things with me at that time about his relationship with my bishop and how Bishop had been encouraging him as he was starting the ministry. And I felt like that was all the confirmation that I needed to know that God was really drawing us to that house. And so I will say again, it's better to leave too soon than to stay too long. And some of us are planted in ministries and in relationships. I'm not talking about marriage, please hear me, but in relationships that we've been dating the same person for 30 years and they have not committed to marry us, it is better to leave too soon than to stay too long. We have to understand our values, ladies. We have to understand our worth. And we need to really be keen and keep our ears tuned to Christ on what it is that he's telling us to do and where it is he's telling us to go. And I promise you, he will never fail you. I promise you, because you're talking to, well, y'all not talking to, I'm talking to y'all, but anyways, you get it. I am talking to y'all, and y'all are listening to a woman who had a child at 14 and raised that child by herself. Now, that's not to say that I didn't have people along the way to help me, but my mother did not raise my child. My grandmother did not raise my child. That is God. And he gave me wisdom and divine knowledge. And I didn't even know that he was downloading wisdom and knowledge into me to rear this child to be the man that he is today. And we still working on him, y'all. But I know he's going to be great. And there's such a mighty call on his life. And we've nurtured that and we've cultivated that. And I expect to see the fruit in that. And also in my daughter. And so just as I was saying, getting back to Glory House, when I decided and made up my mind that God was definitely speaking to my husband about us going there, and the Lord began to speak to me about that as well. And we decided to join Glory House, and we were committed to our house. So let me tell you, we didn't leave our last home angry. We didn't leave our last home with a grudge. We didn't leave our last home with a chip on our shoulder. We left in peace, and we can go back anytime. And Pastor Myra Paris was so gracious as we were sharing and being released from that, because that's important. Some of y'all are out of order. You hopping all over the place because you mad at somebody. God is not pleased with that. And I promise you, when you get to the next place, whatever challenge you had at the last place is going to meet you there. So you might as well take care of that issue, whatever it is, now. And so we went to Glory House, and I began to see how God was manifesting things in my life in a way that I would have never imagined. There's so much that I've learned about ministry. There's so much that I've learned about the fivefold. And I've come to understand that as we stepped into this new season, that we needed Glory House. We needed that in this season of our lives. And we've been there just 9 months. And in the last 6 months of the time there, I've been birthing this conference, and it exceeded all expectation. And I believe that's because I said yes. I said yes, and God did the rest. You know, you say yes, and he'll do the rest. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt, y'all, and I'm going to sell it, and y'all going to buy it, and it's going to be good. Okay. But you say yes, and God will do the rest. I promise you, you will not be able to make him a liar. You won't be able to make me a liar, because he has shown me time and time again that when you say yes, he will do the rest. And so being planted in the right ministry, being in the right relationships, both romantic as well as friendships, all help to influence your destiny for good or for worse. And we keep these friends in our lives who not really friends. You know, we keep hanging or going around to the same places over and over with people who mean us no good. And that doesn't mean that you can't still say what's up. You can't still go to the movies, but we need to make sure that we protect ourselves. And I'm not saying build a wall and shut people out. I'm saying know your worth, know your value, and make sure that you are demanding your value, because quite frankly, if you don't know your value, somebody else is going to assign you one. And when you're in the dollars, they're going to assign you some change. So you need to know your worth. Don't let anybody else assign you your worth, your value. Know your value. And so yeah, that's it. And I just want to say thank you again to the 200 plus women that came out to the Epic Women's Conference. I hope to see you in Jamaica at the Epic Women's Retreat next year. We're hosting a small retreat that will be a deep spiritual dive. So if you are stagnant, if you are thirsty, if you are hungry, you need to be at the retreats. And that's what the retreats are. They are deep spiritual dives. The conferences are an array of different things that you can get from the conferences: professional development, lifestyle, as well as spiritual development. And so I want to make sure that you're in Jamaica with us. And if you can't go to Jamaica, I want y'all to save y'all coins for Epic 2020, because it is steal it, girl, because I probably stole it from somebody else. Shira says she's stealing she's still in that. I am going to be starting a YouTube page. I actually already have one, but I don't really do much with it. But what I'm going to do is download all the lives, because people have told me that they have been blessing them. I'm going to download those lives and make sure that they're on YouTube. And I pray that you guys will continue to bless my ministry by sharing it with a friend and just telling somebody about Epic Women, because it looks like we're going somewhere. And y'all are all in the labor and delivery room with me. So I bless you all tonight, and I thank you all for just sharing in this growth with me. Growth is a continual process. And again, as I said earlier, if you have feedback, if you attended the Epic Women's Conference, or you know somebody who attended the Epic Women's Conference, please have them to fill out the survey that they will probably receive tonight if they didn't already fill out one at the conference, because I think we got only about 100 surveys from the 200 women that were there. And so we'd like your feedback, because we know that it will make us better. Yes, Aunt Cindy, Epic was amazing. I love you too. And I'm just grateful to God, because it really is all him. And I don't want to have like this false humility, because I hear people all the time that, you'll say, oh, you sang so good. And they be like, that was Jesus. No, it wasn't. It was your voice. You sang. Like, that's just dumb. But, God inspires you, and it's the Holy Spirit that will take you to a different place and a different level. There's a difference between ministry and performance. Absolutely. And so I know that God used me on that occasion, and I'm grateful that he's given me whatever set of skill that he's given me. And then he surrounded me by people who had far greater skill than me. And together, our collective intelligence brought to you that thing, and the Holy Spirit breathed life into it. So that's the thing. We have to be committed to a thing. We have to be obedient to a thing. We have to do it with excellence. And then we need to ask the Holy Spirit to breathe life into it, because we could have done every single thing right. It could have been organized. It could have been beautiful. It could have been just fantastic. Hey, sister. And yet the Holy Spirit doesn't breathe life into it. And it's just a pretty thing. Like, I don't want to do something that's just pretty. Like, I'm not about that. I'm about doing something that God is breathing on. And I don't want to do nothing without him. And I don't want to do nothing he didn't tell me to do. Okay? Because that's just the season that I'm in right now. Hey, Lady Tanya. She had an amazing workshop, She Motions. And she really brought it, and the reviews for her workshop was just amazing. And the women said, Tanya, that they did not have enough time with you. Somebody put on one of the workshop reviews, I think it was for Leslie Meyer's class, that they needed 2 or 3 hours. I said, 2 or 3 hours? Good Lord, that was like the whole conference. Y'all need 2 or 3 hours with one speaker. So it's just incredible to see that people want more. And that's the way you should leave people, feeling like they want more, not that they can't wait to get out of there. And I think that folk couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to just share their testimonies. And so again, I said earlier, if you have a testimony, please share. I want people to share live video testimonies. Doesn't have to be live. You can pre-record it and then upload it to Facebook or to Instagram. Tag me in it, and then I'm going to select 5 people for, okay, I think my screen is over here. I'm so backwards. Y'all know I'm not good with these lives, okay? I'll be trying real hard, but I'm just so awkward with them. But I digress. So 5, where we at? 5. We're going to give away 5 conference registrations, even a year in advance of Epic 2020. But it's going to come from the testimony. So everybody who posts a testimony, a video testimony is what it's going to take. A video testimony, you have to tag me, LaShonda Leslie Smith, or you can tag the Epic Women's Conference page on there. And we want to give away 5 pre-registrations, because again, the cost will not be $35 ever again. So you may want to get in that number of those 5 free conference registrations right away. Yes, Lady Tanya did her thing. Aunt Cindy said. So I thank you all. I'm glad, Wanda, that you had an amazing time and that you felt empowered. I am so grateful to all of you. And I pray that even this mini teaching that I did tonight was a real blessing to you, because I want you all to know your worth. I want you to know that you're valuable. I want you to know who you are in Christ Jesus. When we know who we are and we know whose we are, we can do great things. There is nothing stopping you. So whatever it is that he's put on your heart, he's placed on your heart to do, you can do that thing. You just have to trust him. Trust him that he's going to provide the resources. Trust him that he's going to give you the energy. When I tell y'all, I have a demanding job. I'm an executive. And I have a demanding job. And sometimes I work 60, 70 hours a week. And even with that very demanding job and having staff to report to me and changing communities, God gave me the energy to come home after work and work on the Epic Women's Conference. And he will do those kinds of things when he has called you to a thing. So, and I just was reflecting the other day that he did this before with Successful Pathways, which was a nonprofit that I founded. Oh gosh, I don't know, 15 years ago or so now. And it's now a ministry of Youth for Christ. But he gave me wisdom and knowledge to create a 501c3, which is a nonprofit tax exemption status, and to create bylaws and vision and mission and create a board and create programs. And I didn't have any experience in any of that. But God said to do it, and I said, okay. And I just trust him that he's going to give me the rest. I don't have to worry about not having it, because he's going to provide it, whatever it is. And so then he breathed life just 5 years ago with writing a book. I wrote a book called The Journey of a Teenage Mother, with women authors, female authors from all across the country and in the UK. And we toured that book, even in the UK and in Virginia and in different places, and God breathed life into that. And in the first week that we produced the book, we sold over 1,000 copies. And so I know those things are God. I know he's called me to build. He's called me and established me as a visionary. And so I believe that there are things that he would have me even to pull out of many of you. And so I'm excited to be doing this work. I'm excited to be used by God in this season. And I will tell y'all, Amanda said, we had a lot of intercessory prayer around the conference, and we were praying for every single woman who had registered for the conference. We were praying for every speaker, every volunteer, everybody, okay, because we can't do this without God. And Amanda Williams gave me a prophetic word that this was going to break something in the region, that this conference was going to break something in the region. And when I was at church, we had a high time of praise this past Sunday at Glory House. It was ridiculous. It was bonkers. It was like, if y'all ain't been to Glory House, like it's bonkers every Sunday, but this past Sunday, it was bananas, okay? And I heard the Lord say, the convention center. Woo, high glory. I heard the Lord say the convention center, and I heard him say 500 women. And so it's just like God, you know, when you start to think, ooh, did I really hear that? Was that you, Lord? Or am I just getting a little bit carried away? And so I was talking to my girlfriend, Martha White, this evening, and just saying, oh my God, I had a conference this weekend. Can you believe that? Like, that's crazy. And she was like, yeah. And we also had, and I don't think we did a great job at advertising this, so we will do better for Epic 2020, but we had intercessory prayer from 8 to 9. So while people were registering, the intercessors were praying for all of you conference attendees. The intercessors were interceding hard, were warring for you all. And then there was a second time of intercession for any woman who needed additional time with prayer. And so the intercessors were back in the intercessory prayer room and they were praying. And she said she heard the Lord say that a dam was breaking, that this conference, so it's not about me. And that's what you need to understand when God is calling you to do a thing. It's not about you. Like, get over your hangups, get over your insecurities, get over what money you got or don't got, get over who you think gonna listen to you or not listen to you or whatever. If it is not but 2 or 3 people that listen to me, it doesn't matter, because those were the 2 or 3 people that God intended for me to breathe life into. And so we need to stop worrying about who is listening. Who cares who's listening? Who cares who's not listening? Who cares? We had one person who on a conference evaluation checked poor, all the way down. I don't care, okay, because I answer to God. I don't care. And the fact that 99% of the other evaluations said excellence, that's all that really matters. And so I'm not going to allow the enemy to come in and sow seed into good soil that God has planted, and he's caused me to go to a place. I need to go to that place despite what I'm feeling like. And so Martha shared that this conference was beginning to break a dam in this city. And she said she saw the waters near the convention center. Y'all know where I'm going, right? She saw the waters near the convention center rushing over. And it was an indication, a spiritual indication. And it was a vision in the spirit and an indication that something was being released in women in this region and in this community. And I told her that I heard that word, that the conference was going to be at the convention center. So we both screaming on the phone because it was confirmation for both of us. But that's how God is. You know, he'll do you a thing. He'll share a thing with you. And if you're not sure, just wait on that word. Just wait on that word. But I trusted and believed that I heard the Lord, because I hear from him. I know his voice just like y'all know his voice. And I'm not afraid to say what he says to me, okay? You heard, I said that. I am not afraid to say what he said to me. So if he gives me a word for you that you don't like, I'm sorry, sis, but you got to take it up with him. But I know I heard the Lord say the convention center, and I know I heard him say 500 women. So I believe that you watch what I say. God is going to do a new thing in this city. He is going to do a new thing in this region, because this is not about Rochester. This is not about Black women. This is not about white women. What heaven looks like all of us. Heaven is the rainbow of races and ethnicity. And that's what I like to see. And that's what I believe the Lord wants to see with the Epic Women's Conference. Women of all ages, all backgrounds, all shapes, all sizes, coming together under one roof, doing whatever it is that God has called them to do in that season. This season and this word for the Epic Women's Conference was birthing. We were in the labor and delivering room, and we were giving birth. There was roots of fear that were exposed that people didn't even know that they had. There were all sorts of exposure, deliverance that was happening. For women, it far exceeded anything that I could have expected. It far exceeded anything that I could have expected. And we are absolutely sure, absolutely under an open heaven. And I'm just so thrilled that God used me and used the entire conference crew to do a great and mighty work on September 29th, where we saw lives change forever. And so I want y'all to go on, and I want y'all to share this so that everybody, I think, can hear me. And I want you to share with friends that the Epic Women's Ministries has been birthed. And we are releasing something that you have never seen into the atmosphere in this community. And God, you're going to see a great work. You're going to see God do a great and mighty work through the Epic Women's Ministries. And I'm just excited that he said I could be a part of it, because I'm just little old me. And but yet he wants to do great things through me, and he wants to do great things through you, sis. He wants to do great things through you, brother. Whoever is watching, he wants to do great things. So do not count yourself out. Do not look at the TD Jakeses and the Matthew Stevensons of the world and say, gosh, but I can't preach like that. I can't speak like that. I have nothing to say like that. You have something to say. And when God gives you that thing to say, you say it. My sister Stacy, who is on, I don't know why, but several months ago, she shared her testimony with me and just brought me to tears. Now, I'm not even sure if that was a word for me, but her testimony impacted me so much that I've shared it with other people. And maybe it was meant for her to share that message with me so that I can share it with people in my sphere of influence. You never know how you sharing your testimony will impact somebody else. So stop being selfish. Stop keeping it to yourself. Stop being embarrassed of what God has brought you through. You do not know what your transparency can do to set somebody else free. Leslie Myers was so transparent. You will look at somebody like her who's running a superintendent, a superintendent, a Black female superintendent. Now, y'all know we can't be vulnerable, us Black women, because then people talking about us, right? Because we're supposed to be great. We got to be better than the rest. But this woman shared her life, shared her story, shared her insecurities, shared the times when she's been down, and she set people free. Okay? She set people free. People who were bound, who were looking at her saying, man, I want to be like Leslie. Not knowing that she has struggled silently. But she broke the silence, and the enemy had no choice but to run and hide. Because as she was driving that bus, everybody else that was riding the bus with her made it to their destination. And I'm just so ecstatic that I could be a part of bringing her to the Epic Women's Conference and helping her, allowing her to have a platform to set so many women free. And so, oh man, I've been living with y'all for an hour and my throat hurt. It do. Y'all pray for me because the enemy was trying to get my whole household sick. Everybody around here sniffling. When you're in ministry, it's not just you who will be attacked. Your entire family will be attacked. My husband and I are in marriage ministry and have been doing I don't know which way I'm going. We have been doing marriage ministry for a long time, so the enemy will continuously try to attack our marriage. There has been I can't even tell y'all so many different things. There will be a time for me to tell it, and I'll tell it all when the Lord says to tell it all. But it's not for this live right now. But there were so many things, hurdles that we had to come over because the enemy knew that we were on the verge of greatness. The enemy doesn't know exactly what God is getting ready to do in your life, but he will sense it. And you will wonder why everything seems upside down. And I shared at the conference during my talk, I like to say talk and not preach. It don't feel like I'm preaching because I'm just talking. We just talking, right? We friends. We just talking. Okay, so, it doesn't matter that I throw a scripture in there every once in a while. That's not necessarily preaching, y'all. I'm just talking. So during my talk at the women's conference, I had shared that my husband and I have been gargling with some salt water, and it did help. So I'm going to keep doing that. Thank you, Shira. But my husband and I, we got this mighty word, okay? It was probably back in 2009. And the Lord had spoke a word through the prophet. We had a prophetic presbytery at our church, at Church of Love. And so we had like 8 hours of prophetic word for all of the leaders in the church. And there was an incredible word that was spoken over our life. At that time, they said that there was a writer's gift in me. I didn't even know that until after I produced a book. And then I look back because it's important to review the prophetic words that are spoken over our lives so we can steward those words. But oftentimes we will have a prophetic word because God is preparing us for a hard time, for a difficult season. And he wants to remind us of where he's taking us. So we don't look at the present. We don't look at what's being disrupted in our lives right now. We hold on to the word, okay, whatever word he's given us. And we had a word that money would be no object. don't y'all know I was running around the house and just super excited about all of what God was saying and doing in our lives. And I actually, I was a little bit arrogant, y'all. So don't do that. Okay. Don't get arrogant when God gives you a mighty, mighty word over your life. Don't sit back and be like, oh, Jesus, well, thank you. Look at me, little old me. God bless you, Jesus. Yeah, God gave us this word that money would be no object for us. And then we both lost our jobs. So I was like, okay, yeah, what about that, Lord? You said money will be no object for us, and he don't have a job and I don't have a job, and I have a master's degree. He has a degree. What in the world is happening to us? And it was a hard time. We could have lost our home. During that time, banks start to foreclose after 3 months of not being able to make a payment. But God provided for us. And I remember my son, in his very arrogant teenager way, we were having some intense fellowship with him, and we're disagreeing. He, at the time, believe it or not, at like 16 years old, was the only one in the house working. And I remember getting into a little bit of a tiff with him and saying, you know, I've raised you better than this. You're the only person in this house working. You haven't said, Mama, can I buy a loaf of bread for you? Can I help in some way, shape, or form? And he said, well, and I said, we're struggling. That was my words. I said, and we're struggling. He said, well, if you're struggling, it sure don't look like it. And so after I got all over being frustrated with his comment, I had to think about the wisdom in that. I had to think about what God was truly saying through him in that comment. You might be struggling, but you sure don't look like you struggling. Hey, thank you, Jesus. I don't look like what I've been through. And I was just so grateful. Like, it was such a, I mean, it was like God just using, you know, this grumpy teenager to speak life into me at that moment. And I had to think about it. We have not gone hungry. There is nothing that's been cut off. You know, even though we probably should be getting foreclosure information, God is taking care of that. He was doing a mighty thing in our lives. And yet we had a word. We had a word that money would be no object. And I was out of work for over a year. And my husband was out of work for 9 months, almost 10 months. We didn't have no income coming into our household. And so, well, we did have unemployment, but the kinds of jobs that I work, unemployment doesn't come anywhere near that. So we were, for all intensive purposes, po. Okay, we weren't poor. We were po, y'all. But we had a word. We had a word that money would be no object, and yet we wasn't seeing that. We wasn't seeing that. We weren't seeing the fruit, but we held on to that word, and eventually God took us over that very difficult time. We've got words that we would travel all over the world doing ministry and marriage, and then we had hit rock bottom in our marriage. You know, and I would have to go back to God, and I would remind him of what he said. When you hit a hard time and you have a word from the Lord, you take that word back to the Lord. You remind him of what he said. We had a word over my daughter that she would excel academically. She got this prophetic word over her life when she was only 6 weeks old, that she would excel academically. And by the time she was in 3rd grade, we had to get an IEP for her, an individual education plan. And I didn't get it. And I didn't understand it. And I said, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, because you said, I didn't ask that she excel academically. You said she would excel academically, and she is struggling. And my baby is crying doing homework, and she is having a very, very hard time. And she's a senior in high school right now. She still has an IEP, and she still struggles academically, and she makes honor roll just about every marking period. And she works harder than anybody I know. And she's up to 11 p.m. some nights doing homework. And she has learned that I learn differently. I process information differently. And so I have to work harder. I have to study harder. And that's just my plight in life. But I have a word that I will excel academically. And every time she gets discouraged, I say, what did the Lord speak over your life? She says, the Lord said that I will excel academically. So we have to even teach our children what God has said about them so that they will continue to walk in the faith and they will continue to hold on to whatever God has said to them, even when they don't feel like it, even when they're not seeing it. They have to hold on. And I know that this girl will graduate from college with honors. She's not getting a local diploma. She's getting a Regents diploma with, even with having an IEP. So God gave me that word to remind me. God gave me the word about my son standing in the pulpit and preaching and touring the world and being like a Reinhard Bunke. And so when he went a different way and when his lifestyle doesn't reflect what God spoke over his life, then I just remember that I have a word. I have a word, and I remember how many other times when I had a word and my situation didn't reflect that word, but then that word manifested itself and it came to pass. And because God has shown me time and time again that he will never leave me or forsake me, when I get into a hard place, when there's trouble in my marriage, when there's trouble in my finance, when there's trouble with my children, when there's trouble on my job, I remember the word that God gave me. And I remind him of that word, and I come back to that word, and it gives me peace, and it helps me to remember the God that I'm serving. And so I ask him to just play the highlight reel in my mind. Remind me, Lord, of every single time that you brought me through. Remind me of the times when I was 14 years old and raising that child, and 16 years old and in my own apartment raising that child, and on welfare and standing in soup kitchen lines. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't even know. You see the glory, but you don't know the story, okay? Standing in soup kitchen lines because there was nothing to eat. Buying $1 worth of cheese and $1 worth of turkey and a loaf of bread to sustain us the whole week. God has brought us a mighty, mighty long way. And I don't have time to tell it right now. But he will give me the opportunity to do those things. And we absolutely need something for youth that involves speaking prophetic words over them, because we need them to understand what the word says about them, and we need them to understand how they declare it, and we need them to understand how they even speak words out of their own mouths. And we as parents have to be very careful what we speak over them as well. So y'all, I gotta go do what my sister Shira said. I gotta go drink some tea with some honey and some lemon and something. I don't know, but I want y'all to pray my strength so that I'm well, because I have a very busy week ahead of me with my very busy job. It didn't stop. There is life after Epic Women Conference. And so I want y'all to pray for me, and that God renews my strength and I can keep going and ward off the attacks from the enemy, because he, when you pour yourself out in that way that so many of us did so that everybody else can receive, we need to be filled back up. And so I love y'all, and I thank you guys. And so you will hear from me, every woman who attended the Epic Women's Conference, because we will be giving away five conference registrations for 2020, which will not be $35. So y'all want to get in on that, share your testimony, do a live video or a pre-recorded video, post it and tag me in it, telling me about your testimony from the Epic Women's Conference, so you can have a chance to win one of those 5 tickets, because we going to the convention center, y'all. There's going to be 500 women at Epic 2020. You watch what I say. Okay. Love y'all. You have a great evening. Thank you, Lanessa, for praying my strength. I really, truly, truly appreciate it. Bless you all. Have a good night.